You're not gonna do your little. It's now a part of this podcast, okay? You have to do your thing. Hola, bunnies. Welcome to another episode of Burrowed Thoughts. I'm your host, Lana, and I'm so excited to get into today's topic because this one I allowed my lovely ladies at the table to pick, and this is going to be a very interesting discussion because today we're talking about letting your heart get broken, which obviously it's a huge push. And this sounds like such a weird piece of advice, is like nobody wants their heart to get broken. Why would you ever want to feel heartbroken or have that sadness? But at the end of the day, it's not something you should be afraid of. So today we're going to talk about a little bit about different relationships, romantic, platonic, friendship, family, and letting your heart get broken by other people around you, since that's kind of crucial in life, is you have to live through the ups and the downs and the in-betweens. So we're going to talk a little bit about dealing with your emotions that way and what can flourish and grow from these types of experiences. So to start off, let me tell you about my first breakup. And if he's watching, I'm so sorry, okay? But immediately after my breakup, I was so confused on what to do because I had spent pretty much a year with this person constantly. And this is where kind of this conversation piece came up as inspiration for me. I didn't really know what to do anymore because it felt as if I had lost something that was crucial to my life, because I've been living a year with this person, constantly telling them about my dreams and what I want to be, and knowing so much about them and their family and them knowing about my family. And it ultimately made me very happy at the end of the day. So to lose that sense of happiness to a breakup was kind of like, oh no, what am I doing? Life came to a complete halt. I was still really young at the time. I was 15, 16, something like that. I started dating him when I was 14, I think. I don't remember anymore. Life goes to show you kind of live and forget, right? So I ended up going through these phases and I didn't know what to do, and I ended up trying to make all the friends that I didn't really have the opportunity to make when I was with him. And through those friends, I started learning more about personal growth and development. And my mom then was kind of realizing, oh, you're interested in like stuff like the law of attraction and making vision boards, because that was the first time, about a couple weeks after that breakup, where I made a vision board. Does that mean like I got up and was like, oh, I'm just going to girl boss this and forget about him? Absolutely not. Like, I think it did take me a good couple months to then be able to fully say, like, I don't think about him that often. But at the time, it was like, okay, how do I get out of this hole? How do I manage and relieve this sense? And for me to do that was through personal growth and development and learning about The Secret, and my mom showing me the movie and getting me the book, and then me proceeding to start journaling every day, and not journaling about him or anything else, journaling about just my daily life and how my day went, 3 things I'm grateful for every day. And it just started kind of going like that until I realized a couple months later I had like a revelation. I just didn't think about him anymore. And unfortunately, the point of the story is that you're always going to live and kind of move on. Obviously, right when it happened, I was like, how am I ever going to live? How am I going to live without a high school boyfriend and have all the nice things that he did for me? What am I going to do about that? So I ended up just letting it go and living through it. And I mean, I could probably tell you a trillion stories within the same type of field, I guess, with the same aspect, because of the fact that I have lost many friends over my life. Not because of the fact that, oh, you were a shitty person and it didn't go well or anything like that. It was because of the fact that I had friends who kind of just moved away, or we grow older and have different interests, or so many aspects can get involved when it comes to someone letting you go. And I think that's what we associate with heartbreak, is someone letting you go, or you letting go somebody, so that it doesn't feel as if you have the same relationships you did before that kind of heartbreak. And I mean, heartbreak can also come in grief or somebody passing, but it's the same type of revelation isolation where you understand that you're not really ever going to talk to this person again, or maybe you're going to have a few interactions here and there, but it's never going to be the same. And even if you try to rebuild it, and if you do, good luck to you. I don't know. I really am the type of person to like leave it alone. I live and let die because I don't feel like I need to cross any bridges that have already been crossed. No need to retract. You only keep moving forward. So when it comes to heartbreaks, that is like one of the main points to start looking at is, do you want to go back? Do you want to relive everything that you relived, or do you want to keep moving forward? And when you are looking to move forward, it's important to apply this kind of abundance mindset where you're going to continue to attract good things in your life. And obviously, like, I'm not saying the next day pick up your shit and go like, I don't know, go make millions of dollars. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you have to understand that there's, as cringy and like cliche as it sounds, there's always going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. And you're going to wake up and have one day a realization where, oh, everything did work out. But also one of the biggest things about letting your heart become broken is the fact that when you're in a relationship with someone and maybe, it's kind of you're drifting apart, or maybe this person is just not good for you, whatever ends up happening, you kind of start having maybe these little gut feelings that this is going to turn into not what it used to be, but into something new, and something where you're going to be almost feeling like you were left alone in some way. And heartbreak kind of comes from that area as well, where you think, oh no, am I going to be alone? Am I going to be sad all the time? What's going to happen? And these questions are totally valid. You probably should be asking yourself these types of questions, because if not, I don't know if you're like normal, but it's the fact that we all ask ourselves these questions and then pretend like we didn't, or act like we didn't want to. But the truth is these are human emotions, and we want, like, what's so nice about watching a movie is the fact that you get to watch these characters go through the ups and downs. And we love that little like chart where, you have the rising action, the climax, and the fall down. But the thing is that whatever movie you're watching has that plot line, but we watch it still because we want to see the trials and tribulations of the characters and all the emotions they go through. And some of the best movies and best rated movies in the world have so much human emotion where you feel like you're watching it and you can relate. And we try to push those feelings away. Like, we don't want to relate to the truth of these movies or TV shows or whatever type of media you're consuming with emotions. Like, you just don't want to be a part of it because of the fact that, well, I think sometimes emotions can be a little bit embarrassing. I am the type to just let it out wherever I want to. I'll be crying in the middle of absolutely nowhere. I think I cried because in Adventure Time once, they said like snakes don't have arms. I also cried to that because I felt like that was really sad for snakes. But I have no embarrassment to know that I am highly sensitive, and I want to be that type of person because I understand that that's how I get the most out of life, is when I have those moments where I feel really guilty about something or really sad about something else. It's a part of life and a part of getting your heart broken. You are going to feel those lows and like you've hit rock bottom, but at the same time, those moments are key moments in your character's development. You are in a movie. Like, sometimes that's the best way to view your life is a movie, and you need to have these ups and downs. And maybe you're a coming of age movie like a teenage Lana was, and you had to go through this breakup or losing different friends that you grew up with, but then realized maybe you guys are just growing apart, and just let it go. But there will always be a good ending. Maybe always. The problem is that there's always going to be something else down the road. But that does not mean that you should not be fully accepting of things that are going to come towards you. And letting your heart get broken is just one of those things that it's always going to happen. And you can't necessarily protect yourself because, as cliche again as it sounds, the heart wants what it wants and it will get it and it will feed for it. And you can't decide like, me, let's like fall in love, let's do it. Like, that's not how this works. And you fall in love with family, friends, significant others. It doesn't matter. You can fall in love with anything and well, maybe not anything. I take that back. Don't fall in love with anything. And then losing that is kind of heartbreaking. I mean, I feel like every time I finish a TV show, I feel a little bit heartbroken because of the fact that there's nothing to like look forward to anymore. But there's always going to be another TV show where I feel that way again. And I am grateful for the moments that I do feel that way because that meant I just enjoyed the ride. And letting your heart get broken can also... you don't necessarily always need to feel this sense of gratitude. I mean, years down the road, months, whatever you want to call it, you probably should find that sense of gratitude. And hey, I've learned a lesson from losing my best friend, or I had a lesson from losing contact with one of my family members. That's always going to be something that you're going to learn from. Or maybe I shouldn't have talked to them that way, or maybe I should have been more engaged in our relationship. Whatever those consequences may be, you learned something, but it doesn't need to be immediate. It can take like years and time to then find the gratitude for the situation. Through watching TV shows, it's like you're always going to have this sense of like, oh, there's going to be another one and there's going to be something else. And that's the joy of the journey. And you have to enjoy the allowing of yourself to go and live through your emotions. Now, am I saying like go to the mall and just ruin everything, like throw a fit, or just be like hardened from, what's it called? After? No, like don't ruin all your family dinners, okay? Just because you're a little upset in your life. Don't pull a Harden, okay? What you need to be doing is more of a kind of controlled reaction approach. Is that in our lives, a lot of people will tell you that you can't control your emotions, you can control the way you react. So obviously, if you're going to allow yourself to have, nobody really allows themselves to get their heart broken, but if it does end up happening, instead of obviously jumping to the conclusion of these emotions and acting on the anger and sadness that comes with it and saying things that you don't really mean, you can control at least that reaction and have the lesson be about, okay, how did this grow for me? How did I grow from this situation? And making sure that you're staying respectful to whatever situation it may be, mindful of whoever else may be going through the same thing. You can have more sympathy and allow yourself to not necessarily like just go absolutely crazy, but have a more controlled reaction that will allow you to literally just offer you a better situation for yourself. It's just going to be the easiest thing you're going to be able to do for yourself in this situation. Now, obviously, if someone told me that they wanted to break up with me, am I going to go throw everything out the window? Probably not anymore, but I could when I was like 14. Be like, okay, it's time for like everything to go out the window. But for me, like my biggest suggestion for those moments is like always take a step back to breathe, because that is what you're going to be doing for most of the time. And that is one of your biggest anchors you can have in your life, where the thing is letting your heart get broken means that you're going to have these moments where you feel like you had everything and then you lost everything. And the thing is that that's not necessarily the case, because you can always breathe. You're never losing breathing. If you're going through these heavy emotions and you feel like everything's just like you're dying, but you're not dying in this case, is that you can just kind of breathe through it and control that reaction. And that's going to be one of the biggest lessons you can get from getting your heart broken, because a lot of people don't consider how they want to deal with the situation. They just consider their emotions, and that's why they're scared of it, because it can make you act so irrationally. So it's such a learning game of how to act more rational. And it's also a learning journey for what you want to learn about yourself within, which is such a beautiful case, because sometimes what heartbreak is letting go of a dependency on someone or something that you may have been clinging on to for a long time without necessarily noticing. So when it comes down to the moment that you're without that thing or that person, in this case, what ends up happening is the fact that you're left in the dust, pretty much thinking again and again, what am I doing? Who am I? What's going on in my life? And these questions, these opportunities are so much bigger than that situation. There's so much you can reap from that, which is probably like the last thing you want to hear. By going through a breakup, I want to be here and sitting here and support you and say, like, let's go key his car. But at the same time, I am the type of person who wants you to look within yourself and not be like, oh my God, I did this wrong, this wrong, this wrong. I should have said this. I should have done that. Like, shoulda, coulda, woulda. I don't care. You should not care. No, let that go. There's no going back in the past and fixing everything. So just let all your should, would, could, and think about what you can, will do. So what can you do in this situation? What are your steps forward? How do you feel right now? What should you be doing? And like, first, let your ride of your emotions. You know, I always say, like, when I get my heart broken about, like, I don't know, maybe they canceled my favorite TV show. That's about the most I could get my heart broken right now. Or I hear that, like, oh, okay, you don't want to be my friend anymore. That, well, yeah, that kind of sucks. But I don't immediately think, obviously, like, oh, how can I better myself from this situation? That's not what I do at all. I give myself some time to cry, to be frustrated, to allow yourself to be upset. And then you start thinking and you get up off your ass, because there's no benefit of just crying and sitting around and doing nothing. And that's some of the biggest life lessons you can learn from getting your heart broken, is just allowing yourself to feel your emotions and then do something about it, which not everyone is fully capable of doing. So you can find so much pride in being the type of person who can do that. So if you let go, like, step by step, let go of your fear of letting your heart get broken and decide, like, okay, this is the situation. Cry it out, feel it out, do what you got to do. Give yourself 3 days, a week, 1 day, as much time as you need, a month. And then you eventually have to start questioning, what can I do for myself? And this is where that's like the exciting part of this, and why, of course, it's never going to be like exciting, but it kind of is at the same time. So I'm not saying go get your heart broken by like 10 different people in 10 different situations just to have this sense of like excitement. No, like, then go just like bungee jumping or something. Like, don't do this. So I really highly encourage that you just find your groove and find a way to make it exciting for yourself afterwards. So then you can have these moments that once you did get off your ass after a heartbreak, you realize that I'm actually years down the road, you're proud of yourself. You look at the situation and realize, oh, well, that could have gone 10 times worse than it did. And you're allowed to kind of pick at the situation and realize that there's so much that could have gone wrong, and there's so much that went really well. I'm not saying, obviously, like, look forward to getting your heart broken, but it is just a part of life where you have to let these emotions run through. And then the moment that you do decide to get off and say, you know what, like, it's time to start living life again, you'll realize that that sense will come into making you more confident about yourself, more prideful, because that is something that I totally think everyone should have, is this moment of, you know, you feel really proud of things you've done in the past and the way you've reacted. And heartbreak allows you to have those moments, because if everything was glitz, glamour, rainbows, and unicorns, and also Dunkaroos, because I love Dunkaroos, I've been thinking about them today, is the fact that you can have these moments in which you're very pleased with how everything has gone in your life, and you can realize there's good moments and bad moments, and you have to have the bad moments to appreciate the good. So it's not like, oh my God, these heartbreaks are going to be like the end of my life. And yeah, it absolutely sucks because you get your heartbreak and then you realize like it's not like the movies where you have that one best friend who's your best friend for your whole life, or maybe that one boyfriend you met in high school and you end up high school sweethearts. Like, it's not always going to be that case, but there's always something bigger and better upon the horizon to be looking forward to. And even if you can't see it right now, then allow me to tell you on this podcast, whether you're going through it or you've been through it or you're scared to go through it, is the fact that that little sense of pride is going to allow you to be so much more confident. And then you'll also realize that you are the type of person that is capable of going through emotions properly. And you know what? Let's say in the case that you did cause a huge scene, or it was a really messy heartbreak, breakup, whether you had arguments with your parents and then they were like, get out the house, or you had you caught your significant other doing something they promised they never would. It's stuff like that where you can obviously like have your emotions absolutely go from like 0 to 100, go wild. But at the end of the day, those situations, it's okay to have those slips up and mess ups. It's just the capability to then after realize, hey, like, was that the best option? How can I do better? What can I do? And for me, when I went through my breakup, it was this noticing, hey, you know what? Like, I actually really couldn't communicate my feelings. I like before could not. If something would happen, I'd be crying for 3 days straight and I couldn't even tell the other person, hey, you know, this is what's going on with me, or hey, maybe I need a little bit of space. Nothing like that. I just couldn't stop. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't talk to them. And that was something that would be hindering for the rest of my life if I didn't take care of it. So obviously it sucked that I had to go through like a breakup and a heartbreak to be able to go, oh, you know what? Like, this is how I need to be reacting in this situation. But at the end of the day, it is true. And it's allowed me to create better friends and better situations for myself. So it's not a sense of, oh, I lost everything. Heartbreak isn't going to make you lose everything. You're going to be just fine, which sucks to hear, but it is the case. And unless you're obviously sticking around that person, then like don't be the asshole who breaks up with someone and be like, hey, let's be friends. You know, you're just hurting everyone around you. And it's just, obviously I'm the type of person to be like, oh, just get out. Like, I'm so sorry, we can't do this right now. Maybe like 2 years down the road. But right now, in this moment where you have to go through that healing journey and all of these questions that I've been talking about this whole podcast, like, just allow the situation to be and allow yourself to be and have the emotions, but don't share it with that person because they're probably going through something similar. Or, you know, they always say that like men realize later on that like, oh, she was the love of my life. She was like the dream. So just like let it, because at the time, like, there's so much freedom that sometimes comes with a breakup as well, or a heartbreak, that you're kind of like so excited about this newfound freedom, then you afterwards get really upset. So just do what you gotta do. Let it happen. Let it feel. Let it do it, because it's just such a journey to go through those emotions. And we take those emotions so much for granted because of the fact that there's no other species that goes through such trials and tribulations, or lives the way we do, or acts the way we do. And humans are lucky in that sense. So obviously, heartbreak is not lucky. You're never going to not feel that grief. But to just then have the capabilities later to be like, oh, you know what? We are really lucky. And I will tell you, you're really lucky to be able to go through all these emotions, because, yeah, they suck, but they're going to make you a better you. They're going to allow you to feel so many different cases that you may have never felt before, just because of the fact that every situation is necessarily like new in some sense, obviously. So even if that person is kind of just allowing you to feel out these emotions and get it all out of you, or maybe you've had some pent up other issues dealing with this relationship and you're scared to let it go, letting go will be the best thing you can do for yourself in a personal growth perspective, and also just best thing you can do for yourself as just a human experience. On that note, I just kind of want to summarize a little bit that what heartbreak is for you to allow yourself to go through the emotions and to also see it as an opportunity to learn and grow. And if you're watching this right now and going through a heartbreak, allow yourself to just do it, to just feel, to just have these moments. And like, it sucks. I'm here to validate that, like, this is shitty. You probably feel so bad. And I've been in the position where I've felt so bad, whether it was a friendship ending or something happened with a family member that like we didn't end up talking for a while. It's just these situations are going to arise in your life because not everybody's supposed to stay. So just reminders that it's a healing journey and allow it to feel like a healing journey. Then after, obviously take the steps it needs to be to then finalize this healing journey. Think about what you could have done better, what you learned from it. Find it an experience that you can be grateful for. Obviously, in this moment, if you're currently going through it, you've been through it, yeah, like there's no doubt, and I'm always going to say, like, it really hurt pretty badly when I got broken up with or when I lost some of my best friends. But at the end of the day, I'm still sitting here smiling to you in a bunny hat. So there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm going to end it on that very cliche note, but reminder that you can always check out the audio version or the video version on YouTube and my podcast link, and follow on Instagram for summaries of this episode and exactly what steps you should be taking. And on that note, bunnies, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and good luck to all of those who ever experience heartbreak, because I know what it feels like too. Do your little thing. Woo!